Welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Egberto Will is your host. Thank you so kindly for being with us. You know, we just had a great win in Georgia, but that didn't happen by magic. That didn't happen because, you know, it was Donald Trump that, you know, a lot of people out there are trying to say Donald Trump was a bad guy, and because he was a bad guy, his people didn't show up, and that's not the case. The case is a hell of a lot of people did a hell of a lot of work. They were on the ground, and we had people from all faiths, all religions, all ethnicities. They were out there in Georgia doing their stuff. And today I'm honored to have two of the people of organizations that were out there doing real work, the people that made it happen. Patrick Carolan and Tania K. Robinson, thank you so kindly for appearing on Politics Done Right. Ladies first, Tania, how are you doing today?
I am doing well. This is the first full week of a new administration, and coming off a high, definitely feeling great.
That is great. I know you're feeling great, especially I think you are from Georgia. Is that correct?
I am. I live in the metro Atlanta area, so we were on the ground and doing a lot of the work.
So this election of the first Black senator and the first Jewish senator, you actually materially can assimilate that.
Yes, I bubbled in the name, so.
Bubble in the name. Yes, and of course, we're here with my good friend who is a damn good friend of Politics Done Right, a guy that I really love, works hard in the movement. Patrick, what's up?
Hey, how are you today, brother? It's good to see you.
Great seeing you too, man. Great seeing you too. I'm glad for all the work you guys are doing. You guys made everything Politics Done Right's been saying for years actually materialize. So thank you for what you guys did out there.
And, you know, let me just say, because I know you interviewed my son recently. Myself and my son lives in Savannah. And so he had called me on the night of the Georgia election to say how excited he was that a Black man who was from Savannah was elected to the U.S. Senate. It said, you know, it gives him hope that there's possibilities for him going forward, not necessarily to run for senator or anything like that, but just for whatever, that a person who grew up, poor Black person in Savannah was able to win the election. And then my daughter, who's Black and lives in Charleston, had the same conversation with her after the presidential election about how excited she was that a Black woman was going to be the vice president and what that meant for her.
Yeah, I mean, things are genuinely changing, and you know, a lot of the pushback that we're seeing, January 6th, all that kind of stuff, it's sort of the last grasp of white supremacy, the last grasp of all the negativity that, you know, that we had from the formation of this country. And it's a good thing. You have good people like Patrick, good people like Tania out there making it happen. So, I mean, I love it. Anyhow, you guys work together in Georgia. So Patrick, tell me a little bit about how you all got together.
So as you know, I was part of the Catholics for Biden campaign, and we had organized a lot of Catholics around the country and states. We didn't organize in Georgia, though. We really, though my other organization, Both Common Good, did do some work in Georgia during the campaign. But for Catholics, we kind of left Georgia alone. We were more focused on states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, states like that there was a heavy, large white Catholic population in those states. So after the election, a small group of us started talking, and we decided we needed to stay together for the future. You know, we can't wait till 3 months before an election to start trying to organize Catholics. We got to start now organizing for 2022. And then we just had a conversation one day, and we said, well, what about Georgia? And none of us really, you know, had a connection. I did for my son, but not real connections to political people or a large Catholic group in Georgia that we could reach out to. So we sent a simple email out to folks who had signed up for Catholics for Biden. We said, we're going to do a call on Tuesday night if anybody's interested in getting together and organizing Catholics in Georgia. And we got about 40 people on that call.
The first shot, 40. That is great.
Yeah,
that is
great. And we just kept going for 5 weeks. We had no money. You know, we weren't there, so we couldn't do the work. We just kind of helped organize the folks like Tania and others who did the work. And for 5 weeks, we met every week. We talked. Our group grew. At one point, a group from the CME Church joined us, And they said, we want to work with you all. We've heard what you're doing and we want to work with y'all. So it became Catholics and CMEs working together, did some really exciting stuff, and I'll let Tania talk more about that. But we did some really exciting things. And for me, other than the most exciting thing was obviously winning the Georgia election, the second most exciting thing, and I'll let Tania take it from here, was this group in Georgia has now decided to stay together and create a Georgia Catholics for Common Good organization to go forward. And so
So Tania, tell me a little bit about, first of all, what you thought about meeting these guys from the Northeast that are going, these Catholics from the Northeast that are going to be coming down here to the South to kind of, be a part of the team that's going to bring it home. Tell us a little bit about how you guys met and what you thought about meeting the very first time.
Certainly. Well, I was very excited. I'm actually originally from the Northeast. I'm a New Yorker, if you can't hear the accent. So
well, you don't know these days where anybody's from. And that is why things
but I've been in Atlanta for over 20 years. I came directly out of school, Syracuse University, moved here right out of college. And so I've been here a long time. And so definitely seen a lot of the changes that have happened. And actually for me, getting involved with the group was actually kind of through the CME group, even though I am Catholic. The chair of our African American caucus for the Democratic Party of Georgia is very active in the CME church. And we had our weekly meetings. We had weekly meetings just to discuss the election and anything that we needed to do for the runoff. And she mentioned that there was a Catholics for Biden group and a Catholic group that was working to help out with the runoff. And I was like, oh, I'm Catholic, because I think a lot of us here, there's not a lot of talk about social issues or political issues within the church. And so sometimes you feel like you're alone or you're in a silo. And so that just piqued my interest. And so I joined into a Zoom call and started doing the prayers. We started having a prayer for 9 days before the runoff election, and just got a chance to meet all of the great people that were working there. I'm actually a state committee member for the Democratic Party of Georgia. I'm a post seat holder in my county. And so I had been involved for a while, but kind of never involved as a Catholic group, and understanding that there were others that had the same mindset as me, and that we can get together and build a coalition and build awareness. And I think that as other people realize, yes, there are people that have the same mindset as me, hopefully we can get some more folks together. So we are actually starting, we just got the email, starting the Catholics for the Common Good here in Georgia, so that we can continue the work. Because really, yes, feel like a weight has been lifted off of us, and we did some great work, but there's still a lot of work to be done. This year we have local elections, municipal elections, and then obviously in 2022 we have our state and also our congressional elections going. So really, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And we have to keep our foot on the pedal. Don't put anything on the gas. This is an ongoing process that we have to keep people engaged, keep people working. What we did was basically just, meeting people where they are, knocking on doors, waving signs, making phone calls, sending text messages, and really getting the word out that your vote does count and your vote can make a difference.
Now, Tania, what is very interesting is, first of all, I was surprised when you said you were knocking on doors. So you guys did go out with your masks on and you were knocking on doors and talking to people.
Yes, I actually served as the regional coordinator for my county here in Cobb County for the Working Families Party. Mm-hmm. We're actually a party that's
I know who they are. In fact, I know the guy who runs it out of New York.
Yes,
Maurice.
Yes, we had a call with him. Yeah, it's a big, they do have different silos of parties in New York where you can vote for a candidate on the Working Families Party, on the Democrat Party, et cetera. We don't really have that here in Georgia. It's pretty much Republican or Democrat.
Right.
They're really trying to build that coalition here in Georgia and get the word out. And so we were out there as a regional coordinator. I had a group of maybe about 10 to 15 paid canvassers that were out in my county. And we had coordinators for each county and each area across the state that was actually, putting on the masks, putting the sanitizer on their hands and standing back 6 feet and talking to people at the doors about our endorsed candidates, which were Ossoff Warnock. And we also had a statewide public utilities commissioner race that was here in Georgia. And then also obviously making sure that they voted down the ticket and getting that done.
Before I get into a few social issues, let me ask Patrick this. Patrick, I think this symbiotic relationship between these Catholic organizations across the board, you're going to maintain that relationship to elect people throughout the country. Is that correct?
Yes. So our goal is the folks that were part of the Catholics for Biden campaign is to build a Catholic organization like we're doing in Georgia. We're working with the Georgia folks and states across the country. You know, I don't like to use the term progressive conservative, but it would be more of a progressive Catholics. And part of it, and I think Tania really hit the nail on the head, to use a really torn, well-used analogy, when she said that part of the goal was to just let Catholics know that there's other Catholics that think like her, think like me. For a lot of Catholics, and that was part of our Catholics for Biden campaign, was just to give Catholics permission to say, yes, I can vote for the Democrats. There are other issues. Not that abortion is not an important issue. It's an issue we need to have discussions about, but it's not the only issue. There are other issues like racism, like immigration, like the climate that are equally as important. And it's okay for Catholics to come together and talk about all of these issues and vote based on your conscience. That's clearly what Pope Francis teaches us. It's what a number of the bishops, like my friend John Stowe in Kentucky, has written and talked about. So our goal going forward is to build that organization for the 2022 and 2024 election so that we have Catholics for Common Good groups in all 50 states. And then, you know, as part of the work I've done with Vote Common Good, I'm still involved with them. They're doing the same work with the evangelical communities. And we're doing this collaboratively with Catholic and evangelicals to build a new faith organization that understands social justice and works in social justice.
You know, whenever it's funny because you're talking about Catholic organizations, and one of the things, the tenets of the Catholic faith is, yes, they pretty much, the tenet is that sort of anti-abortion. And interestingly, what I find is that many of those who just take that stance, and I don't take a stance, I'm not a woman, I don't take a stance on that at all. But that said, it's amazing that there's so much interest placed in the woman's womb and so little placed on what comes out of the womb and the development of what comes out of the womb thereafter. And I hope, I trust that when you're given your Catholic message, that is actually a part of it as well, because there's so much emphasis on the womb and so little emphasis on the infrastructure that's needed to develop what comes out of the womb. But
you know, and let me just comment on that because I've written about that. I've written a number of pieces, and you know, we could have another discussion just about that at another time. But the issue on abortion is that, you know, and I understand my perspective, other people's perspectives who may think it's wrong, but we're not doing anything to end abortion or to reduce the number of abortions. The funding Planned Parenthood, the only thing the funding Planned Parenthood is going to do, it's going to do two things. It's going to take away health care for poor women, and it's going to increase the abortion rate because it'll take away birth control for poor women. And so let's have a discussion about how we can reduce the number of abortions. What are some of the steps we can take? And that means taking care of children after they're born. That means having good family leave policies. So when women do have babies, they don't have to rush back to work so they can pay the bills. Or having family leave policies so men can stay home. I actually was a stay-at-home dad for a couple of years, taking care of my children. Let's start to develop those programs that will help reduce the number of abortions. That's a discussion we should be having on abortion.
Patrick, you're absolutely right. You and I can discuss what happens after that baby exits the womb. But Tania and the others who carry the baby are the ones who discuss what happens in the womb, because we don't have much place there. Now, Tania,
I agree with you. Yes.
Yeah, Tania, now tell me a little bit about your feeling. Now, this is more on a personal level, because I remember when Barack Obama got elected. It's not that it's not that Black people or Latinos or whatever don't have self-confidence in that they are just as worthy, but just seeing people elevated to positions they weren't there before. I remember for Barack Obama what it did for me. And I was never a shy person, but I remember what it did for me. What did seeing Warnock do for you? What did seeing another ethnicity as well, let's say Ossoff, do for you?
I just think it was great because I think it also is, we were there, we were at these events, when I actually ran for office last year as well for state Senate here in Georgia. And so several events that I attended locally in my county, I'd end up sitting next to John Ossoff. And so see each other, we'd be like, we got to stop meeting like this, having that personal interaction with them. I worked on the Warnock campaign. And really got to get, intimate with the details of working on a campaign. So I think it gives it a different twist when you actually see all the work that you've done and those people winning. And the fact that now in 2021 or 2020, we're still having firsts, like our first woman, African-American, Asian, Indian vice president. Have a lot of work to do. Yes, we can celebrate and definitely be excited and be happy for these accomplishments. But because we're still having firsts here in the 21st century, that means we have a lot of work to do. I have a 13-year-old daughter. So she was born in 2007, which means all she really knew was Barack Obama.
Yes.
2 years old, and we were sitting watching a show or something, and he came on the TV and she goes, "Oh, that's Obama," and she was 2 years old. And then to go from that to having the president that we just had 4 years ago, I think it was really a culture shock for her because that's all she really knew.
Right.
But going through this process and seeing the work that I was doing, and she was out with me too sometimes doing this stuff, and though she cannot vote, she said to me, "Mom, I really see now what voting means, and I cannot wait till I turn 18. And so you saw a Kamala Harris get elected. You saw Reverend Warnock, first Black senator, John Ossoff, first Jewish senator, and then even also to see the appointed first Hispanic senator in California and see the three of them standing together being sworn in. It's momentous, it really is. And I must add that Joe Biden himself is a Catholic president.
Right.
Second Catholic president.
I think the first one since Kennedy, right?
Kennedy was the first, and he's the second. And he's also our first Syracuse alumni. He graduated from Syracuse Law School. So I had
the oldest man
my orange.
and the oldest man out there to have become president, which is a good thing, and and collective. So which is a good thing. One last question to you before I ask you what I didn't ask, and that is, Stacey Abrams.
Yes.
That's all I'm going to say. You go from there.
Awesome. She is the example of what taking for lack of a better word, a defeat or a setback and setting up for a comeback. Okay?
So is she going to run for governor?
I'm not saying about governor. I'm talking about the work that she's done.
I know. But I'm saying, I don't
know. I hope she does.
Yeah, I think it is. I think one of the reasons, I don't think she got her due for the two senatorial wins. And I think many times I've done it on my show, and many others have seen many women on MSNBC and CNN have seen made the corrections to make people understand it isn't that Trump was so bad that we lost. It was that you all, the Tania Robinsons, the Patrick Carolans were so good. That is why they won. So we all, America, let me tell you something. Let me do a little preaching here. America owes a debt to guys like you all because you all saved America. I'm telling you, people don't look at it that way. When we didn't have the Senate, we knew one thing, we knew what was going to come out of Congress. Nothing. We still don't know what's going to come out of Congress, but because you all are there, we know that you all can effect change in this particular Congress. So from politics done right, And all our people, I want to thank you all. So before I go, however, and Patrick should know this, so I hope you're prepared, Patrick. I always ask a special question, and I'm going to ask him first. What didn't I ask you that you wished I had asked you?
Well, you didn't ask me about like who's going to win the Super Bowl, but
well, you can add that to the answer, Patrick.
Right. But I think and let me just before I answer your question, let me just say how grateful I am to Stacey Abrams and how she inspired all of us to go forward and to do and also taught us how it can be done. I mean, Georgia is such a special case because nobody thought Joe Biden could win Georgia. Absolutely not. Even leading up to the election, nobody thought Joe Biden was going to win Georgia. Nobody thought those two people were going to win the Senate seats in Georgia. And Stacey Abrams is the one who we followed in her footsteps. I'm just, and to go through what she went through and lose her election, and then to just pick herself up and go back out and fight again. And so, I just want to make sure that people understand that's the model we have to do going forward. I think the question that we all have to ask ourselves is, and particularly as a Catholic leader and an activist, what is it? What does my faith mean to me? And what can I do as a Catholic going forward so that our faith does really mean something? That the message that Jesus taught us about justice and about peace is actually a meaningful message. It's not just some words on a paper that we say on Sunday mornings at church. It's something that we live our lives and our lives are centered on. That's what we have to be going forward with. And that's what, our plan is with Catholics for Common Good is how do we take that message for Jesus that Jesus taught us that, as part of the Franciscan family, it's the message that St. Francis of Assisi lived going forward to bring about the change that is necessary. I wrote a piece recently about people talk about, we can't wait to get back to normal. And I wrote a piece that said, we don't want to go back to normal. Normal wasn't good. Here's why normal wasn't good. We need to be out there creating a new normal. And that's what we have to start working to do. Not at the election's over. We got to start going forward, creating a new normal. That's a normal that embraces everyone, cares for everyone, that we're all brothers and sisters. So that's my preaching.
And Patrick, that is the reason why you are on Politics Done Right so many times, because that inspiration is what America needs to hear. Same question for you, Tania.
What question? I think now that we're going more into the local mode this year, what local issues, specifically here in Georgia, do we need to tackle? And I think in starting our group, Catholics for the Common Good here in Georgia, I think what we really want to do is back candidates and folks that believe in we and not me. Here in Georgia, we have the worst, and if we want to talk about and pivot off of abortion and talk about having babies, we have the worst Black maternal mortality rate in the country, worse than some third world nations. And I'm actually also a member of Delta Sigma Theta. We're actually putting on a program in April during Black Maternal Mortality Week to bring this to light to a lot of women that are of childbearing age. Why do we have this? Because many women in the state of Georgia, and we're very, I think, spoiled living in Metro Atlanta, but we have to realize that Georgia is a lot more than Metro Atlanta. And there are counties that don't even have one doctor or one OBGYN in the whole county. Why? Because our state legislature does not want to expand the Affordable Health Care Act and provide Medicaid and Medicare to these places so that doctors can open up clinics and things like that. We have an issue with broadband and internet access in our state. And that was the reason why we wanted to elect our first African-American Democrat statewide elected public service commissioner, amongst other things in our environment, but to offer this because we see in this COVID world that kids are at home, and they don't have access to get the instruction that they need because they don't have access to quality broadband. We have legislators now that are trying to restrict our votes now because we won, because split they're trying to take away our drop boxes.
Yes, they are.
We can't do absentee voting. So there's a lot of work that we want to do this year to bring forth, the ideals and the principles that we believe as Catholics and we believe as believers that is for the we and not the me.
Patrick, Carolan, Tania Robinson, thank you so kindly for having appeared on Politics Done Right. It was my honor to have both of you here.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.